Okay. So, welcome to Fitness Meets Athletics podcast, where we try to focus on, well, people of greatness and fitness in general. And I'd like to introduce all my viewers to Olia Stasiuk, someone who I actually found on LinkedIn and who absolutely inspired me, not just starting her own business, but emigrating to North America, learning English, and starting her own business and keeping up everything with the fitness lifestyle as well. So just very quickly, Olia, could you share a bit about your journey, your story, and emigrating not just to North America and the United States, but Canada as well, and also building yourself up from the ground up, coming to North America?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everyone, and thanks for invite, David. Super happy to be here, and thanks for the recognition. You know, it's always important to see when people notice what you do, but it's also when they notice that you can bring value to other people. So very grateful for that. And on my side, so I've immigrated to Canada about 12 years ago, and since then went through a lot of roller coaster moments, and I would say when it comes to a fitness journey, I came from totally do not want to do this because my father always used to force me and he always expected an Olympic champion. To really growing to understand myself, the benefits behind it. And that being said, I think one of the best things that happened to me in life, it's exploring running. And running really became my medicine through the hardest moments, and medicine for both physical but also mental activity. And as a business owner, I say all the time now that the best thing that I can do if something doesn't work, if I don't understand the team, if I'm in the bad mood, if I don't know, I have a jet lag, the best thing that I can do is to go running. Because after that, I come back and my head is fresh. I have a lot of ideas. And that's kind of been a big push for my journey across all of the areas you've mentioned in the beginning for at least last 5 years. So that, and then in terms of personal, I guess, like I've been in learning and development space for my entire career. So I've always been helping people, employees in different organizations, big and small, different industries, different cities, to grow from the moment they join the company to the moment they leave the company. And the most important for me is to be able to listen to every individual, which is sometimes difficult because people are super different. Working with people on the daily basis is very tiring somehow because you spend a lot of energy when you really try to understand. And so fitness in this case, became massive supporter for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, I can understand how that goes. I know fitness kind of, when I started implementing it, like I've lost a significant amount of weight, but when I started implementing it, it changes the way you think. It changes the way you focus on things, you know? Okay, so as someone who built a company from the ground up, especially in the AI space, especially in this current market, right? What are some of the biggest mindset shifts you've had to make along the way?
Ooh, a good one, a really, really good one. So, Bonzai AI is not my first business. I always had like side hustles, but it never been a tech company, and it never been AI, and it never been a full-time job. So I had like
Okay.
flower stores, rentals, other side hustles. When AI came to the game, it changed a lot, and it also came at the very difficult time in my life, with both career-wise, because I kind of got to a level 4 of Maslow hierarchy of needs. I was at the top of my career, but it didn't feel right. And then I also was going through a war in Ukraine because my background is Ukrainian. So essentially, the decision was difficult because a lot of things were on the line, but I also understood how crazy important AI is, and you cannot ignore it. And that being said, I risked to start the tech company as a female founder, as an immigrant, without no connections, which is quite difficult in a way. That being said, the journey really, really showed me a lot of things. Where I had to pivot the most. So one of the probably by now still the most difficult decisions for me, it's been to split with some of my co-founders. And in both cases, it happened very unexpectedly to me. And it happened also, like, I think the hardest for me is to say goodbye to people. But it's also like teaching you to stay fair. So I think one of the critical key values for me right now in life. It's to be fair. And each time I'm at the really situation where I don't know which way to go, I always might ask myself what would be fair in this case. Of course, it's still fair based on my life, my perception of life. But that being said, it really helps me to make choices. The most difficult was to say goodbye to people. Another difficult part was, you know, what's interesting? We had to rebuild our software. I had to change quite a few teams. And I also had to change pricing model for the business, and I had to change some different programs. So it's interesting because now when the journey is kind of about a year and a half, like if we really count from the beginning of the first team, what's interesting, some of the ideas we had at the very early beginning, I refused. And I refused because I did not know how to either monetize, or I didn't see it as a fit for the market. But then now we're literally implementing exact those ideas, you know, and it's always the question is like, was I bad at listening, or maybe it was just the wrong timing? And I think one of the biggest thing that I've learned as a founder, it's okay to go back to ideas you've rejected in the past, and it's okay to look at them again, because it often comes down to a very right timing. It's really the top success for startups. It's not the idea, it's not the team, it's always about the right timing for that solution. And sometimes you need to wait for the market to evolve to that.
Yeah.
So I'll summarize it as being ready to pivot at any moment of the journey, even going back to the idea you've had, but understanding that it could be the right timing.
For sure. Well, then going along those lines, like this is not a question here, it actually brought up something in my head. If you had gone with some of those ideas at the time, would they have been successful?
Yeah, very good idea. I think when it comes to AI, so it took us time. We had a market fit right from the beginning, and I think it's because I came from the industry, so people always really well resonated it. But we also had a very big problem because when we started it, people were so not ready for it. Like I literally would have less people in the room who've started using even ChatGPT at that time, right? People were fearing AI. So one of the things we were fighting, it's really the fear of AI. It took me a lot of time to really just bring to people that it's okay. It's actually okay because it's doing the automation of the things you hate, right? When it comes to like, of course, some tools you really have to question them, but some tools you just really need to start understanding them. And so I guess along those lines, I still would say probably that it's a good timing to do it now. I think one of the things that I would change for sure is probably the fundraising strategy, because I was the first time founder. So obviously when you're a first time founder and you're learning a whole new piece, you kind of stick to what people say, you keep testing, but then eventually you realize that every unique startup has its own journey. There is no right or wrong. And I'll give you a simple example I've just shared in the podcast recently. I always thought I'm going to have US and Canadian investors. I didn't even look at any other investors because I was like, nobody would understand or pay the amount of money for valuation we have. Funny enough, all of my investors are Europe based, none of them UK or US. I
Oh,
would never
wow.
do that, right? So I
Yeah.
think like being super open-minded and trying things out, but then funny enough, now I'm getting US and Canadian investors on board after the other ones, which is completely not what I've expected. So I think thinking that the journey is not really straight and you will never read it in the book, but keep testing a lot of things. I'm super happy that I've tested tons of avenues and they all now coming back, but a little bit from a different angles that I've expected.
Okay. No, well, that's amazing. Okay, so now I sticking to more like for my company, right? So Fitness Beast Athletics, right? Like especially since I've seen the stuff you've done. I've seen not just from the AI standpoint, the business you created, but the fact that you're such an avid runner. You're so big in the fitness industry as well. Because like you've done companies. I think I've done a bit of research on you, and like you have some startup. I'm not sure if they're startups, but or programs will say that focus on fitness as well. You know, and so I know you've said that fitness plays a big role in your life, but how has movement or training helped you deal with stress and the pressure of building your own business? Because, like, I know for me, when I am super stressed, when I am bogged down with everything, hitting the gym, whether it's cardio or just for me, truth be told, it's more lifting weights. Like as much as I want to get into cardio, it's more lifting weights my stress reliever. So how would you say that fitness has helped you deal with stress and kind of helped you building your company?
Yeah, totally. Very good question. And for me, kind of played a very big role in my life.
Okay.
About 2.5 years ago, I was going through a very difficult time. So, following obviously the Ukrainian war, a lot of changes with my work. I was in the burnout at one specific period of time. Funny enough, from success. So, I got to the success point. I thought it's the end of my journey, but I got there at 27 and I wasn't happy. I realized that money and ability to have the role and travel everywhere I want doesn't fulfill me. And I asked myself, what's next? But as I was looking for those questions, I was, really exploring myself. And I got to the point where my willpower really dropped. My willpower to everything. I couldn't even keep up like with a regular basic diet. I don't know. And so I was at the point, one point, interesting enough, I figured it out the business I'm going to be building. So I figured it out what Bonzai AI will become.
You're cutting in and out.
Oh, am I back?
Damn it, I can't hear you anymore.
I'm so sorry.
Um,
I'm not sure what's there.
there you go. Now you go. It just came back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
saying that at some point I figured it out, the business I want to build, but my willpower was really low and I basically couldn't keep up with the basic diet. I just wasn't feeling well. My mental capacity was really low. I needed to keep up with two parents that I brought from Ukraine who have no English. So it felt like I have two kids in home, but also people who are like adults, right? So I felt super sad for that. And so it was a lot of things on my plate. And I remember I was reading a book, 5 a.m. Club, that people have been suggesting to me for quite some time from Robin Sharma. And I finally read it. And there's a lot of different concepts there, but one of the main ones that stick to me was a 66 days. It's really the amount of days you need to do something to develop a habit. So we all kind of know, oh, 21 day, 3 weeks, which essentially in two books in the same period of time, I've read that it's fake. So it was initially introduced by plastic surgeons and they said 21 day, that's how much it usually take you a minimum to get used to your new body look, but it was nothing about like habit. And so our beautiful marketers picked it up and obviously it became a big thing. That being said, when the University of London did a complete research, it says that it's about 66 days to really takes on average to develop a habit. And it's Robin Sharma split it into three parts. He said all changes are hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. And essentially, at that moment, I told myself, you either do the 66-day challenge for yourself and you do the things that you hate and you get yourself into the best willpower you've ever had, or you do not deserve the empire that you're building. And I was very serious on that. And I don't know how, but I managed those 66 days and it had three different sections. So it had a section on the sport. So I said, I'm going to run absolutely every single day, minimum 5 kilometers. And it was increasing. So first 22 days was 5, then 8, and then 10. Then I was doing abs, push-ups, squats, and plank. And some of those things are quite difficult for me because I had scars from surgeries, or I absolutely did not like to do it. But the objective was to, keep pushing yourself to do it, even if you're exhausted, whatever. And I was recording all of my things that I was doing. Sometimes you don't sleep, sometimes you have headache, life kicks in here and there. But the objective was to really prove yourself that you can. I also had food objectives and I had also like lifestyle objectives. And essentially what was interesting, I cannot agree more that the first 22 days were hell. The second 22, what was interesting, what it meant by messy. Messy became my habits and my lifestyle started changing, but my life outside of it was the same. People around it, perceptions of me, the way people knew I'm behaving, right? Well, or like the way I'm working out. So essentially, when I started going back to my social life, people were not really understanding what changed, but things started changing, and I was not yet understanding that they were changing. And so the final stage was really agreed that it was a gorgeous phase, because you really start to see results all over: physical, personal, business. And I sometimes say in those 66 days, I feel like I understood what it means to be superhuman. There was
Okay.
so many incredible results when it comes to speed of reading, speed of thinking, the way I was able to structure my mind, the leader that I became. But it also created a little gap, because I did not realize how much faster I got in everything compared to my team members. And in some cases, it had like this gap where I felt like my team got slower. But some great leaders later explained to me, no, Olia, it's like you got faster. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of my exploration that ended up, I wrote a book that's called 66 Day Success Formula that explains that experience in depth.
Okay, definitely check that out. But just so you know, no one likes doing planks ever.
But these are good results, let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure. It's great, but it always sucks. um, okay, well, you so from your perspective going through this journey, right? What was the turning point when you realized that fitness wasn't just about health, but about performance? Like you'd mentioned that it kind of helped over, like it helped you progress so much, right? But like, what was that one, if there was one active point that you realized that fitness was the go-to to help you explode in your performance, both mentally and professionally?
Yeah, I think on the day 8 of the challenge, because so essentially I never planned to write a book, and there was just a friend of mine who wanted to, and lots of my friends who told me that I should, but I'm like, not my thing at all. But as I was running on day 8, I finally kind of realized how it all gets together. And what I realized, I kind of knew that if I would write a book, there is no way I'd write it just about business or just about personal. And on day 8, I realized how to combine it, because as I was running, it got to me that every single day I'm thinking about one specific topic. So essentially, I was thinking about, business development, or about leadership, or about time management. So each day in my book has a separate word. And usually that word would come on its own from the problem that you're thinking about. And so what I realized, each time I'm going on the run, I wake up and I know what's happening on my agenda, and I'm thinking about it, right? Maybe I don't have a solution. There have been so many times I had no solution. I was like black and white, nothing else. And then essentially, as I was running, and I was just like momentarily 1 kilometer after another, something would come in, and I'm like, oh my God, we can do this and we can do that. Oh my God, this is amazing. And essentially, every night when I was going to bed, sometimes I was like, okay, I'll need to let people go. Okay, I'll need to close this part. And then after runs, I would be coming out. It was like, oh my God, we're literally doing the best thing ever. And we were able to hire more people, bring more stuff. So honestly, I've repeated that experience so many times by now that I have no doubt that it helps. And even if I have like super difficult days, I cannot talk, I'm sick. Like I've been sick last few days. I could not do anything. But if I would do one thing, I would come in and at least walk on the treadmill every morning, and
Okay.
it was way better energy. And I was even able to run when I thought I could not walk. And that's probably one of the coolest discoveries for me. And it happened to me 3 times with an injury on the low energy, because I didn't eat, and because I was recovering after concussion this year. And
Oh wow.
honestly, all the time it was sport that got me out of it. So by now is my official medicine.
That's amazing. No, I love hearing that, especially given the fact how I find these days society is, as much as there is a small group of people who are moving towards physical activity, right? I find the overall perception of society, because of our schedules, because of our how life is functioning these days, I find that there's a larger portion of people who aren't taking the time to take care of themselves physically, to push themselves in that realm, to go on runs, to go to the gym, to lift weights, to even just basic calisthenics, like just you don't need heavy weights to lift in a gym to be physically active. You could just do push-ups. You could do, I hate planks, but you could do planks, as much as as hard as they are, there are plenty of ways to get that physical stimulus no matter what. And I love hearing the fact that you do it even in your worst days. And something that even I realized that you touched on was that even when you think you can, even when you don't know that you have the energy to do something, you'll find the energy mid-run. You'll find the energy mid-lift. You know, your body will be like, "Hey, wait a second. This is actually making me feel better. Let's go." So that tiredness you get or that exhaustion that you have kind of gets flipped on its head, you know?
Absolutely. And honestly, I cannot agree more with top minds of the world who say, you know, any physical activity when you think you can't, it's really fight with your own brain. It has nothing to do with your body because it's really what we think, and it's not necessarily because our brain is wired to protect us. And each time it feels danger, it's things that you need to stop. But in the reality is, you don't always have to, and you need to push yourself. My book does says, um, train your brain, train your body, challenge limits, because you'll be surprised how much you can improve or what you can do. But that being said, don't never go from 0 to 100, right? And one of my biggest examples that by now really is a life changing for me, when I started the journey, I have a thyroid challenge. And so essentially what that is, I cannot be in the cold environments. I usually will get sick very quickly, and even temperature like -9 would really get me sick quickly. So there was never a talk about running or anything like that. In the beginning of the journey, when I started running, it was +19. On day 62 in Montreal, when I was doing it, it was -42. And I'm not kidding you. A lot of snow, -42. I've never even experienced that in my life. And I really did not need to go out anywhere. Like, I already proved myself that I can do everything. I looked incredibly well, super fit. And then at the same time, I was like, no, you go. And I still have that picture when I finished that run, when my toe was frozen, when I was fully covered, everything, eyelashes was white, my like scarf was white. That being said, when I have really, really bad days, I go back to that picture and I say, you did this. You can figure it out the rest.
Sure. Are you currently in Montreal now?
No, I'm currently in Indonesia and I'm kind of moving
Okay.
every week to different places because of conferences. Um,
Okay.
but yeah.
That's awesome. Because I was just thinking, I'm like, okay, so if you can't deal with the cold temperature, yeah, Montreal is definitely not the place to be.
No, but I was born
uh,
in Ukraine, so I grew up through that. You know, it's experiences
okay.
that you have to live through, and it makes you stronger, anyways.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Okay, so you work in a with AI, right? So, um, given the fact that that's a field that's constantly moving, it changes and it's so fast. Um, how do you structure your days to keep your energy sharp, your mindset strong, and especially with given the fact that you're on the move currently, you're moving around, especially given how volatile the AI field is and everything like that. What do you do to keep your energy going, to keep your mind sharp? Like what's your strategy to keep going?
Very good and complex question. So one of the biggest thing that I've been practicing forever, it has been time management. And I've been coaching time management, and I think I've been mastering time management since I know myself. I've started without understanding what I'm doing, but then I was learning as I was going through corporate career. And time blocking, probably one of the most valuable things that I keep highlighting recently, because with my type of the job, I kind of do so many different roles, but I also have team members to manage and clients to manage and conferences and speaking events. And essentially, I sometimes feel like I'm five people in one, and it could be absolutely destroying. And the only thing that saves me is time blocking. That being said, I have days when I have meetings only days, then I have days with no meetings at all. I have days when I'm replying to emails, I have days when I'm replying to LinkedIn messages, to WhatsApp messages, to Telegram messages, because when you work globally, people work business everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think time zones is sometimes the hardest to adapt. So let's say the good example, when I'm in Indonesia, it's very difficult to work with North America because it's literally opposite. So when my team is up, I need to go to sleep, and vice versa. But that being said, it also comes down to negotiations, to passing and delegating to your team members and trusting that you work together. And last year when I had this experience, I worked through the whole night. So my day was messed up, my gym routine was messed up. This year, I refused to do that for my own health. But also I knew if I'm in the good shape, my team gonna have a good leader, and I'm gonna bring the best of myself to the business. And so I did it, and we managed it. And so I usually work out in the morning. So every morning I wake up at 5 o'clock. I have my coffee, I work out, then I do some activities if I can, like swimming or dancing or different kind of things like tennis. After that, I start working, usually while my team's sleeping. So this way I have a lot of time to catch up, emails, which is usually priority. And it's hard because a lot of people don't want to do hard work in the beginning. So when we talk about eat the frog, essentially says do the hardest thing at the beginning of the day. That works really, really good with my schedule. And then at the end of before I go to sleep, I usually meet with my team, make sure they're set for the day and they're working, and then I can catch up at the end of their day. This changes from time zone to another, but that's usually the schedule that I'm really trying to stick to. And one of the other things that I built, I really trained myself on. I now have Saturday full day off when I'm not working, which never happened before. And I'm also trying to work Sunday to Thursday. So
Okay.
Sunday is my peace day when I'm really going through everything that piled up and making sure I'm ready for my team, for my clients for Monday. And then by Thursday, I'm exhausted. So usually Friday, I'm taking a light day.
Okay, okay. No, that makes perfect sense, especially given the success and how well it's clearly like there's proof in the pudding in this case, right? Because you're thriving so well, you know. Now, so a lot of like especially this next question kind of ties in with what you just said, right? So a lot of entrepreneurs do first like face burnout, you know. Um, have there been moments when fitness saved your momentum and it brought you back to clarity? Like when you mentioned before, like there are times where you kind of were completely kind of strung out and everything like that. And so how did you use fitness to bring you back to life, to bring you back to those moments of clarity?
Yeah, very good question. And I faced burnout firsthand myself when I did not expect it. So I kind of, one of my partners in the past had a burnout, and I completely could not understand it because he would refuse to speak. And I had no experience. I was very young and it was difficult. And when I hit it myself, it came unexpected. I had no clue what that is, how to measure it. We don't talk about it in Ukraine when I grew up in school, so I've learned it in North America. I was sitting in the meeting and with a lot of managers, and I realized my behavior is really strange. And I Googled it, and shortly after, I was diagnosed with severe depression, was assigned heavy medicine, and was a psychiatrist assigned to me to double check if I don't want to finish my life, right? So pretty serious, and it was all new for me. I was at that time at Vancouver in my apartment, and I'm beyond social person, but at that time I didn't want to see anyone, I didn't want to do anything. And one of another things, I was fearing medicine so much because I've seen so many people who like changed completely from it. And I asked my doctor, is there's any way we cannot do this? And she said, you have 2 weeks. If in 2 weeks you don't get any better, you basically will have to take medicine. That being said, she took me away from work and she asked me for one more promise. You're not going to stay at home for the whole day. And that promise, I did not want to see anyone. But at the same
Okay.
time, I promised that to her, right? So it was my commitment for her commitment to not put me on medicine. And the only thing I was doing, I literally was going to run. And the psychiatrist that got assigned to me essentially really first tried to sell me services on a side of it, which I had no money for at that time. But second, he kind of threw with me a technical coaching methods that I already knew from coaching. And after a second session, when he realized that I don't want to suicide, he essentially told me, you know what to do. You'll figure it out. You don't need me. And he left me when I actually did not know what to do. But the only thing that was happening in my life was I knew that I need to go out and I knew that I kind of run. And you wouldn't believe it. I got better. I actually got better through those runs to sitting in the nature by myself, taking the silence I needed. And I've explored that running slowly took me out of it. And then it happened to me a few times. And now I actually really well know the symptoms of the burnout. It got to me quickly twice in the last 6 months. One because I was in the accident, but another one was because I was just so overwhelmed with like a lot of events going on. And I know that I need to take a step back for a few days and really like separate myself from the world, do my like proper sleep, proper workout, proper food, and like 2, 3 days after I'm back to normal.
Hey, that's awesome. I love hearing that, it really, fitness is kind of, it sounds like a rock for you, right? Like fitness is one of the driving factors. No, that's awesome. Okay, so given the fact that like it kind of ties in with what you just said, that, and especially the fact that you're in Indonesia right now, and I know, again, I have to thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview, especially now since it's got to be late over there at this point because I know it's 10 in the morning here roughly.
Yeah, it's
Um,
10:30 here too.
Oi. Okay, so when life gets chaotic for you, what are some of your go-to strategies and that you use to kind of help you get back to centering yourself?
Well, I think what is very difficult, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs will agree to that. So I'm very much perfectionist, and so for me, when I have my routine every single day, when I go to conferences, it quickly breaks. And as much as I'm trying to like do the biggest push, but for the conference, you have to wake up at 4 in the morning to get somewhere, then come back late, and by the end of the week, you will have to sacrifice something. So you'll have to sacrifice sleep or run or food that you eat. And it's very, very difficult because I keep going back and telling myself that I gave up or something. But one of the things that I'm learning right now is first, you cannot be perfect at everything, and that's okay as long as you know why you're doing what you're doing and what are your priorities. And I've realized recently that people that I've been trying to be like, they're actually either fitness trainers or always in the gym, so they have that capacity to always be there. And I chose to be a business owner, to
Yeah.
run the tech. I love it. So it's important to understand that you should be excelling in the area you chose for yourself, but not necessarily in every single area to like 100%, right? You can be at 85, and that's amazing. Another thing that I've learned, when I really stuck that running is my medicine. At one point, on January 6th this year, I got in the accident and I had a concussion, I had a memory loss, I had stitches, and I could not really like get up of the bed. As soon as I was able to get up of the bed, I could not, I got to the gym and I couldn't even walk. I literally like was
Jesus.
so slow and I could not walk. I had pain everywhere, and the recovery process was longer. And it really first made me say I actually love running, because before I used to say that I hate it, but I forced myself to do it because it's good. So now I said no, I actually love it because it's super important in my life. The second thing I've learned, and before that, I thought that without running, I'm not a good person. Let's say not as good as I could be. And life made me, forced me to understand that I still can be a great leader. I still can be a great founder, business owner without particular activity, because I am who I am. Activity just helps me to structure myself better. And I've explored different kinds of activities. So if you cannot run, you can lift. If you cannot lift, you can dance, you can do something else. So, and now let's say when I started working out with new personal trainers this past few months, I've learned that things that I've been doing forever, I wasn't properly doing. And learning technique, I could actually get way better results much faster, was knowing the right technique. So if you cannot do one area, go to a different expert, learn from them, be open to try it out. You might be surprised, and be open that life has something new for you. So that's kind of how I operate. I always say, when it's a very difficult time, I always say there is a solution from every situation until you're dead.
Yeah. So effectively, never be closed-minded when you approach anything, right? Like always be open-minded to new possibilities and new growth opportunities as well, right?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
and I
No,
think the most important is your values inside, because if you're true to your values and you stick to it, you'll find the right answers. Just don't lose who you are.
for sure, for sure. And I love that kind of perspective that you have. And I know your time is really busy, so I'm going to try to wrap this up very quickly now. What advice, especially given the fact that you're a woman and you're a woman entrepreneur and you're so successful, at least from my perspective, what's some of the advice you can give to women breaking into male-dominated industries like AI, for example, and fitness also? Actually, both of those aspects are very male-dominated, and you're killing it. So, like, yeah, share your advice. How do people get successful, especially women?
Um, I think the the biggest learning in my life was to actually let go of opinions of everyone, because it used to hold me back big time. I was so dependent. I heard things like, you're too young, you're female, you don't know, you're not from this country. I heard so many things, and honestly it stuck to me, and I had nobody to back me up. My parents are not here. I went through a divorce, so essentially I was like fighting it myself, right? And the moment I kind of got fed up was all of that, and I still knew that I love what I'm doing. And accident actually helped a lot, because when you're not feeling well, you're really choosing yourself. And when I started really choosing myself, started to being honest with people, and started saying, hey, this doesn't work for you, great, no problem, because the world is so big that you'll find your people. So my advice would be, first of all, forget about what people tell you, because essentially it's just their opinions based on their life experience. Unless, of course,
Yeah.
you hear exact same thing over and over very quickly. Pay attention, because it's a very valuable feedback. Second, if you really truly believe into something and you're able to communicate it to your grandma in a simple way, and she understands it as well as like other people, then you're doing something right. So keep doing that. And in the end of the day, make sure you're doing it for yourself, not for anyone else, because you will live with that. And as my mom once told me many years ago, when I was super shy to take pictures, she said, why? And I said, well, because people watching. And she said, but you might never see those people again, but the memories will stay, and it's your memories for life. So make sure you build your memories the way you want to remember them.
Okay. So the next couple of questions are kind of a little bit redundant, but your relationship with strength, right? Your relationship with, especially given all the trials and tribulations you've gone through, how has that relationship evolved over time, both mentally and physically?
Um, it's interesting, because from the perspective of me seeing myself, sometimes it seems like it didn't, because I see myself every day. It's like when we look in the mirror every day, we think that we're the same person, but we keep changing. And I think what I've learned really well, when life makes you stop doing something, you really understand how far you are from where you've been when you restart. So when I started running my first 5K, I could not walk, I could not breathe, I was dying on the first one. Now 5K to me is the base. And even if I did not run for 3 months, I can actually get to 5K in 3 days. That was
Wow.
impossible before. That was like never done. But that just shows the body strength, the memory. And then mentally, I think patience. Patience is probably the biggest thing that I see in my life, because I'm very energetic, I'm fast paced. There is always a lot of me everywhere. Patience was not my strength, I would say, if I would like look back. And it might still not be from my perspective, but I'm like beyond more patient than ever before.
Okay.
And I see it all over in personal, in business, in work. And I'm very happy that I can step back and look at everything from the side.
That's amazing. I know patience is something that I've never mastered. Trying, still not good at it. Okay, just we'll wrap it up here. But besides Bonzai AI, like, what are you doing? Pitch your business. Tell people what you do. What does Bonzai AI do, and what else do you do? Because I know that, despite being a CEO, I know that's not the only thing you're doing right now. So, tell people what you do. Sell yourself.
Thank you. So myself. Well, I love to help people, and essentially, from the day one when people explored in me skill of teaching other people, I think one of the biggest things for me was to see the light bulb when people understand something and they're happy, and seeing the culture shifts in the companies I worked for, from people hating to come to work to people coming and being excited to be there, to come from people not saying a good morning, not smiling in the morning, to people coming and being super excited to do that and hug and share the stories. And I accomplished that multiple times in different companies thanks to building the proper training. And when I realized that that's a bit of my talent, essentially I've asked myself, can I help more than one company in 3 years? And I've learned AI, and essentially dots came together, and Bonzai AI allows people to create training courses for any audience on any topic that come fully from just a few settings or a document. In 15 minutes, it will turns out into full complete course structure with text,
That's
with
insane.
videos, and you can even use your personalized or library avatars to personalize it that looks exactly like you. You'll be surprised how crazy realistic it is. And we really speed the whole process up about 50 times and cut the cost dramatically. So now we make it very accessible to people. And I do already, like each time I see people excited about it, I cannot be happier that I'm still helping people to smile every day.
That's insane. That's an amazing program. Also, do you still do coaching? Also, by the way.
I do sometimes, so it's like kind of per request. Obviously, I my time is quite limited. What I do a lot now, I
Yeah.
do a lot of speaking events. I did release one book, and the second book is coming out soon.
Okay.
And essentially, I'm gonna be starting a new journey soon, and I'll be joining one organization as I'm planning to move eventually into a full-time investor role. So a little bit of secret for you ahead of time. It's the first time I said that aloud, but more details to come in the next few weeks.
That's got to be so exciting, though. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to take up any more of your busy schedule, but I will be in contact after this because I do have questions for you, and I might be interested in hiring you as a coach. But yeah, so everyone, Olia Stasiuk, amazing CEO, insane fitness professional, and globetrotter, effectively, right? She's been all over the planet and she continues to grow. So thanks very much for watching Fitness Beast Athletics, are stronger than ever last time for our podcast. And thank you again, Olia, for your time, and good luck in Indonesia.
Thank you so much, David. Have a
Thanks.
great day, everyone. Chat
You too.
soon.
Bye.